Hello, welcome to another Soul Purpose Profile. And my conversation today is with a woman named Helen. And she had got a soul purpose reading with a lovely, intelligent, very focused horse named Lilia. And as you can see from the background, Helen is a beautiful artist and she actually uses her paintings, not uses, but she incorporates her paintings in what is it, healing? How do you do this? It's
Well, it's in coordination with the horse that I'm painting, how they want I would say their healing soulful presence to
uh,
be made available for people who can't come to them in person.
Yeah, it's beautiful work. I was lucky she gifted me this wonderful picture of the
I
mare there
think
with
that one.
the the flowers, the bridal veil or lace on it.
Bridal fabric,
Yeah,
3D.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. I still appreciate that. Okay, so we're going today. This was interesting. When I do readings for people, I the horses are getting bolder in what they have to say, and they're getting a little bit. Sometimes I laugh and say they're bossy because this right here was very detailed. She almost gave you marching orders, and you weren't surprised about that. You feel like she's very direct.
Yes, I mean that's actually how these paintings got painted. I This was a 4-year project. She gave me marching orders in one sentence. You know.
Oh, fun. Yeah, uh she's here with strong purpose and she needs humans of course to put the words down or to make the contacts. It's very interesting with her. So when I for the audience listening, when I do readings with people, I don't know usually know who I'm doing readings for. And so sometimes I worry that they will think that I'm completely insane because the horses have such clear purpose for them. But 90% of the time, people know exactly what the horses are talking about. They're very connected with their humans, and they have joined in partnership with their human on purpose. So this is you actually weren't surprised when she was very direct with you on some of her orders. As you
No,
say,
but she
it's clear.
it's clear, but she's always got orders that are pushing me on my edge of comfort and discomfort, which of course is what horses do.
Okay, so we're going to start out. Again, this was a soul purpose reading. She says, I'm not about frivolity. I have focus and clear intentions on what my life is to be about. So I have called Helen to me. We will travel a road of understanding and clarity about the soul and nature of horses. And she talks about you being an open soul and you've offered yourself to be a conduit for the messages. And she says, so few humans are interested in the soul of the horse. And that is true, but I see this changing
Mhm.
in mass. I mean, there's like this big revolution or this movement going on where people are becoming more and more aware, seduced, and connected to the souls of the horse. And they're taking action on it. It's really it's becoming apparent. It'll take a long time before it's mainstream per se, but I see a big shift in consciousness between horses and humans. Don't you?
I would agree 100%.
Okay, let me see. She says, I'm not easy for a lot of people, but I'm not for a lot of people. She says in parentheses, I'm strong-willed and I'm strong in body and purpose. I had be to, I had to be to survive the life I've lived, and this is of no matter. For what I have to contribute is the reason for the journey on earth. And she says, here's where she starts bossing you around. She says, Helen is to be my scribe of my life's purpose and intention. She has a way with words and will make this message beautiful and powerful. Helen has a great capacity to see things as they are, not what appears on the surface, but what is truly happening in the background of what she sees. So I'm going to let me go to my other notes here. I have lots of notes on my screens here. Um, these are some things that she wanted to touch on. She says I want to touch on the elements of competitive egos with man, meaning humans, using horses. It's important to notice that even those using horses for healing and spirituality can be ego driven. Hopefully, this conversation will enlighten them and they can move into a place of co creation with horses. Okay, now this is where she gets really specific, and there's actually been a lot of talk about this recently. I've seen it. I've seen posts about people overusing their horses that in spirituality or therapy programs, and like putting the horse in the round pen and just expecting it to work. Which I'm not sure. I understand their purpose behind that, and she addresses this too. But there's a difference between partnering with the horse and using the horse, and she wants to be very clear. And she gave you specific um, directions about this. And you said you were going to go ahead and create a program around this. You're putting in an outline form.
Well, I'm not sure like how the form will be, but I have been sitting with those questions and then just started writing down. I found that these succinct 4 questions just sparked. It's so in depth. I mean, for humans, and it just sparked a lot more questions. So that's how I started writing down all that in reflection to my 12 years experience with her, just visiting. So it's caused all this time since the reading has been a lot of reflection time, and I've been diving into my reflection and how could that serve others in reflection to their own, partnering with horses.
Okay, and as an aside, I didn't realize you had been with her for 12 years. And just so people know, she's Helen is actually not the Lilia's actual owner per se, but she called you to her, and you've been working with her. And the owner is actually, didn't she bring her to one of your art exhibitions because she said Lilia needed to be there? She brought her to something you were
Well,
doing.
that's where Lily. Yes, I had a show just last September, an opening night, of all the Healing Herd paintings, and they were like 24. And I was just inviting the owner to come and see them because she had never seen the paintings in person. All of these horses have come through and on her farm. But then she called me and said, well, Lilia says she needs to be there, so I will be trailering her over on your opening night. So Lilia shows up in this great big trailer, and she worked with people right there outside the building.
Amazing.
Doing, this is what I mean about the example of true partnership. I had no idea. It never would have occurred to me to ask to bring Lilia, although it was an amazing, fulfillment of what this reading talked about, actually.
Yeah. And so that's how strong Lilia's energy is and her purpose is.
Yes, I've seen her do amazing things, because even the farm was up for sale. I saw her blow up that farm one day. I just go out there and just am being with these horses. But she became in that state, and I said, are you doing something? Because the farm was supposed to be sold in like a month. They were going to close, and all of a sudden in 2 weeks time, the whole developer went bankrupt, blew up. The whole sale was just blown away. I mean, because she was going to move to Maine. I mean, Lilia was going to be gone, and she just blew that up.
Never underestimate the power of a horse's energy.
Yeah. Never.
Okay, she starts in with, there's a fine line between using and partnering. Many are aware of this terminology, but sometimes still find themselves amiss. I hope to shed light on this today. When a human wants to accomplish something with a horse, they first need to ask themselves a few questions. And here are her specific questions. Why do I want to do this with this horse? Do I automatically use the only horse I have? Will any horse do, or is it specific to this horse? If I accomplish this thing with this horse, who will have benefited? And then she said, when they have answered these questions, they will know they are partnering with, if they are partnering with this horse or if they are using this horse. And then she says, she's like a college professor. She says, let's start with the first question. She's okay. Why do I want to partner with this horse? And she says, there's deep information in this question. Has this horse called you to align with what you are planning to do? Is this the only horse available? Is this the only horse you can catch? Is this the safest horse to for you to pick. Have you answered a call of soul that is activating within you and with this horse? And are you called together in purpose? And there again, I think so many people that love horses and want to make a difference just think they can pick a horse and do any kind of therapy or any kind of spiritual work um, that they want. But she actually gets to the soul of the whole idea of this. And she says, if this horse has called to you because it feels in alignment with your desire, then this horse is attuned to your soul's energy. Most likely, this horse has been observing you or has called on the divine to be placed in a situation, which clearly Lilia has done with you, that it can be partnered with. This will be a good partnership and no one will feel used. So, in your outline that you're creating, do you want to inject anything? You said it brings up more questions.
Yes, I find that it does. And it's been, my whole journey out there. I mean, I landed out there and met Lilia because I had signed up for 8 horse coaching sessions. And the last 2 sessions, we moved to this farm to work with. And Lilia was the last horse that I worked with. And the owner then invited us in because it was December for tea to warm up afterwards. And she said, "Oh, you can come back and visit anytime." I'm like, what? I
Little
mean,
did she
nobody
know.
does that.
Yeah,
So I have. I have visited every week since 2012. So all I'm saying is that farm had people working with horses in this capacity out there, horse coaches. And it wasn't just the one I was working with. She had quite a few out there. And so I've had a unique opportunity to observe. And I had read, of course, all Linda Kahanav's books. I wasn't completely unaware. And so I would just go out there and experiment. I would try talking to the horses telepathically to see what would happen. And just let them choose. So I had a real experience of there were about 16 horses there. And just watch them decide who would do what, who would work with what, with what. So I've had a lot of experience of seeing horses be in charge of the healing experience. And even I am a Reiki healer as well, so I can do energy work for them if they were in need. And so sometime, a horse came up and asked me for Reiki, but then the other horses stood around and, like they were doing things for that healing for that horse. So I've seen that. So that's why I think later when she talks about if other horses are there, they may have purpose without being the actual horse doing the work. Because even when a horse is doing the active work, there would still be a horse always there anchoring it or had a role. So you almost needed more than one horse, which was fascinating. I mean, I didn't realize that, but that would really happen every time. But yeah, so what I would gather up, Lily has 4 questions, but I would say the greatest areas that these bring up for us humans, these 4 questions, if you go deeply, is everything about intimacy, being fully seen, because the horse fully sees you and your maturation around that. And, so that dives into your whole own journey. And then your comfort with vulnerability.
Yeah.
Trust, which was a big one for me, to really trust. I mean, that's how I ended up going for horse coaching. I was not trusting humans at that time, but I did know a horse would be completely honest and not have like a human agenda for me. So, and then listening. I mean, that all of these topics are huge, if you ask me. And that's just
huge.
under intimacy. And then the big one, of course, is integrity. These questions are a call to integrity.
Yes.
So with that is confidence. I have a whole thing around confidence, developing all your intuitive skills, and the strength to stand in truth, which is like what you're saying, even to realize that this horse might not be the horse or whatever. I mean, or if the horses are saying no, not that client, what are you going to do? Because this, when money gets involved, all of these are
Yeah.
challenged, and
Oh, yes.
she is
Yeah.
not putting up with that.
Right.
Okay, and then the last one I would say is maturation. So, our ability to in our own maturing development, the ability to ask for help, receive help, work with the horse. If the horse might, because in my experience, the healing helps both parties, horse and
Right.
human. So that's another reason why you want the horses to choose, because they will benefit. And then if they're in partnership and have that freedom. And then, just the whole thing about all sentient beings, you have to ask. You can't demand and force.
Right.
That takes maturity. I had to work through that too, and still can. But you have an awareness of when, if I feel like I need to force or demand or have it my way, then I know, oh, gotta go, step back. And then, and really, I think believing your beliefs in soul, and that horses have a soul and a calling that you would have to honor and respect, and gracious enough if it isn't. I mean, she even addresses it in the reading. If it isn't with you, you know, these are big things. These are huge.
They are huge things. Yeah, these are very deep questions. And it's like I said, it's hard because a lot of humans want to help so bad, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
they could see the opportunity to get to work from home with their horse. How great would that be? But it's much deeper than this when we look at it from the horse's perspective. Much
Much
deeper.
deeper. And it really calls you into your full being, because I knew I was getting that. I had that voice saying, Lilia has something for me, because this is kind of a year of, finishing that big project, and kind of, I just knew something was afoot, and all I could get was Lilia has something for me, but I couldn't get it myself. So, and this is what's interesting, because I didn't find that podcast you were on. It was a friend of mine who
Oh,
was on this
interesting.
journey too, and she hadn't even listened to it yet. She said, "You will love this," and sent me the link to that podcast. And that's how I found out about you. And then
Interesting.
once I listened to that, I mean, you're just so, like, to me, spot on to how I've experienced with her. Like, there's a person who can help me get what Lilia has for me.
Well, and she said, she said very clearly what she has for you. Like I said, it was like bullet points, on things that she wanted you to do.
Yeah, I had no idea it would be that specific, but I just knew she had something, and I wasn't able
Well,
to get
she
it.
Okay, then she goes on, she says, "Will any horse do, or is it specific to this horse?" The answer is always no. Not any horse will do. Like humans, not every horse is a healer. Not every horse is concerned about soulful matters. When you partner with horses for this path, it is important that your horse has a similar interest in this design, for a design it is. Interesting, she used that word, and you're an artist. And I didn't know you were an artist, but she actually used that word in a creative manner. She
But
says a creative.
Delayla, I just want to interrupt for a second. Well, I did have a person out there, and she was quite a small person. And Lilia, as you said, is quite big. And she was really intimidated to be near Lilia. I mean, I was too when I met her. I mean, I'm not a super petite person,
Is
but
she a Frisian? Is she a Frisian?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she has just this,
Oh, yeah.
she's tall, she has a big presence, and this is what I love about her. She doesn't apologize to anybody for it. But anyway, this person was like so scared. I mean, Lily, this is where, I was able to just be open. And Lily is just saying, like, she is too scared to work with me directly. So this is what I mean about design. She designed the healing thing to be, she would work through me, because this person had a relationship with me. So she sent like what the energy work she was doing through me, and then through to the person. Like I never would have thought of that. And so
Interesting. Yeah.
she could stand far enough away where the person would relax, but then she just kind of used me as a conduit. I mean, I just thought it was brilliant.
It is brilliant.
And
Yes.
the person could receive it then, because she could still feel like she was near Lilia and near a horse, but not.
But she could
And
feel it coming through you to herself.
but so she could open up. And so I told her what was happening. Like Lily's just doing it through me, and so you're getting it, but it'll just be a little. It won't be direct because it was too intense
It'll be
for
diffused.
her to stay open to it. So I just say when she uses that word design, I mean, I've just seen the horses literally design the healing experience in full.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And I thought it was cool because you're an artist, so that would be like she's speaking your language.
Yes, like it is really design work.
She says the creative process to find solutions for healing or spiritual evolution and enlightenment. And she says, if you feel like, in quotes, any horse will do, then you might be so eager to help or to answer your call that you will feel desperate and move forward when you need to be still. If this is your call, a horse will answer. Or you may be acting on an ego that compels you to manipulate the situation. This will benefit no one. It may not be your time yet, or you may be off course in recognizing your calling. There is no wrong in this. Be still. Become better acquainted with your soul and its voice. Then you will be better able to know for sure what it is that calls to you. Do not be so obsessed with making a difference that you miss what difference you are truly meant to make. That is so brilliant. And I totally understand what she's saying. Like I said earlier, some people just want to help. They have a great horse. They're so thrilled that horses are now entering this. I mean, it's been a while now, but
Mm-hmm.
healing is now more into spiritual partnership, spiritual assisted partnership, or horse related spiritual partnership with humans. And I can understand how you just want to move forward. And I have a great horse and I'll just start having people here. But she cautions against this. And it's just, a way to make sure that you don't start out doing something that's not going to work or that's going to backfire for you. I mean, she has really clear um, observations about how humans are and about how she needs for them to step back and make sure that they're following the right course rather than just being so eager to jump in and start applying their horses to anyone, any audience. And I get the seduction of that.
Oh yeah, it's just such it's so amazing beyond words what can it happen, when when it's all working the way she's saying, that you just want to share that and
Right, right.
reach people and all of that. But I think that's where maybe she's feeling that as it is rising. We really do have to pause and ensure that each horse is being fully voiced and can work in it freely as a true equal partner. And I'm telling you, it's not easy. When I've had people, when I finally really got like they're because I don't own any of these horses, I'm not responsible for, like it's a real humbling presence that I can't quite, trick myself into ordering things around because it's not my farm, it's not anything mine. So I've had to really be humbleized, and enter into it a little differently than maybe most people. And so I've just had to tell people when they come, I have no idea what will happen, if anything, that looks like something happened. And it was really scary to say that because I'm totally trusting the horses in full. I can't even go in, and what I'll do is, of course, prepare people so they feel safe, or how to move around horses and those kinds of things, and to get relaxed. But the actual encounter, that's why I just ended up calling it an encounter with the horses.
Yeah, which
To
is lovely.
fully empower the horses to be in charge of that. And so we know horses are very succinct, they're very powerful, and their ways are different. So it might not look like a big dramatic thing, or I just always say it goes right in it bypasses your brain. You might not even know something happened until weeks later or whatever. So I just, that takes a lot if you're really building a business to have that, you know, to, I don't know. It's really a tricky thing. And I think that's why she's bringing it up.
Yeah, she wants it to stay in honor and in integrity with the horses. And also I think she is, I think, defending the horses that will be partnered or used, depending on how they are with their humans or the program. But she also is wanting to assist the humans to do the right thing so that it works for them. Her information isn't just to caution the humans, it's to
No,
also open their thinking, open their hearts and their thinking.
well, of course, she's growing everybody. She, in her in her teachings, everybody's going to expand and grow into themselves in a more powerful way. So all of these questions, while they I kind of think of that line, like they could be kind of inconvenient that we have to, running a business at that in this way to really integrate them. um it will unfold things at such a higher level that it is worth it.
Right,
For,
if those that are wanting to partner, truly partner with horses and not use them in any kind of healing or spiritual connection and growth, were to take these questions to heart, it will save them a lot of grief and a lot of confusion and maybe embarrassment and frustration later, or a lot of discouragement later on. These are valid
yeah.
questions coming from a horse that is participating in equine assisted encounters and in therapies.
Yes, and it just is. I thought, if she wasn't a horse and she was a human saying this, I mean, like it would be no different than using a person, a transactional, and I just found these questions to be useful in all relationships, frankly.
Right. Yes. Yes.
To be,
Okay, so
but
we'll
it
move
is
on.
particularly important with the horse because they aren't going to just speak. I mean, they are speaking to you all the time, but we can manipulate or we get blocked. Like I was blocked. I can see why I was blocked and getting this because writing and stuff is not my top art form. And I have some wounds around writing actually. So I can see where in my own mind it would not be eager to fully clearly receive that just these marching orders and why
But
I
she
needed
gave you the
help.
curriculum. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we just have to acknowledge we have we don't get it freely sometimes, and we might need help. So that's where having good people like yourself available to help get to the truth and then have that integrity and the courage to stand in it, whatever it ends up being.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, she says, do I automatically, one of her questions, do I automatically use the only horse I have? The answer can unfold in many ways in this situation. This could be that you have came together on purpose, or it could mean that you need to find solutions within yourself that will draw the aligned horse into your life. If you force the only horse you have to participate in healing or spiritual work, you will be disappointed. Again, she's just trying to offer assistance and guidance to people that may be very eager to move forward in equine assisted therapies or spiritual work in any way. She says, if you ask for answers about your situation soulfully, then trust in the answers you receive. Do not force something because it's all you have. Instead, open the pathway of soul to deliver an option. If you are called to this path of healing and spirituality, there will be an option. Be open to see it and do not make judgments or assumptions on decisions you must make before you have openly considered this option. That's a very complicated idea right there. She says, include your current and only horse in this option. They may not be called to your path of healing or spirituality, but they may well contribute in other ways. Like you were saying, a second horse will back up. And I know of people who do healing work on horses will often see other horses doing the release for that horse or
Mm-hmm.
backing up the healing modality that they're using. It's all energy work with that other horse. So horses, obviously, they're herds. They work in herds sometimes.
Yes, yes, they work together. in the healing process, and they know best who is the right horses, even, in that capacity. So that's where we really have to trust them completely.
Well, and you are just a blatant example of what she just said about um, not don't force something. And so if you're called to the path of healing, there will be an option. Look at your situation. You don't even, quote, own a horse, but you've had access to these other horses for all these years. It's a very unusual and unique situation, but clearly they're out there. And I hope this is encouraging to other people who may only have one horse or who may not have a horse, but they want to do this work to know that horses, when you open up to it and you're in alignment with your soul's call, the path will open.
Yeah, it's all grace, because I was, after those horse coaching sessions, I was just, yes, this is a thing. I mean, I opened up psychically and intuitively. I had a lot going. It wasn't. I think I opened up to the whole psychic part of life, like in 2002. So here you are 10 years later. So it wasn't like I was new to energy and all of those things. And so I just thought this is a way to bring it all together, But just like in a horse movie, I was financially challenged at the time, couldn't afford the programs for training and all that. But now I can see that maybe it was really good that I didn't immediately have access to those trainings. Um, and I've literally been taught by this healing herd
Which is
in
amazing.
exactly the way Lilia is laying out. So this is what she has taught me over the 12 years. And
And more people are doing this. There are programs, and it's great to have programs. I love Linda Kohanoff too.
yes,
But there are many programs, but also they are becoming like the work that I do. I didn't study from anyone else. I didn't know
mm-hmm.
anyone who did equine partnered spirituality. Even though I know it's going on in the background in many, hundreds or thousands of horse relationships with humans. But sometimes we're just called to create our own process. And it doesn't invalidate our process or it doesn't dismiss anyone else's, because some of us need to study from other people. Others of us are more outliers and we just create it as we go. And they're all
Yeah,
valuable, they're all necessary.
they are. And I think that's what she's saying. Just be with your own unfoldment. Like mine isn't a huge business. This is not a big part of it's more of service, even though we may exchange money, but it's not like you know my one and only business.
Mhm.
I thought I was going to be going that way, but that wasn't my path. So I to accept it, but it is in my life, but it's just in it, in its own expression form. So each one of us will have our own forms unfold, and to trust that process.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Okay, so then she says, I think this is where I am. If I accomplish this thing with this horse, who will have benefited? This is another one of her questions.
Yeah.
This is the reason for the desire in the first place, so its outcome is paramount. First, as a conduit of healing and spiritual matters, it is impossible to measure the amount of benefit. There may be something that does not come to light or fruition until later on. I love the idea that she tells you to just be patient, not you, all of us, to be
Yeah.
patient with the outcome because we want to see instantaneous results. We're humans and that's how we're kind of wired or we're programmed to be. But she says try not to measure the benefit but just be available for what comes to you. And we're here again, we're talking about partnering with horses in therapy and spiritual work. She says some things will be witnessed and experienced immediately, but not all. If you and this
Mhm.
horse are in partnership together, you will not place judgments and expectations on how it's received. And this is a pause here. That's tough because when you're working with someone, you want to see them have a reaction or a some kind of sign that they're taking in or that they're being benefited in some way. And you look for that within the horse too, but she cautions us to not look for that, but just to stay involved in the work itself, which is brilliant insight. And I'm sure they teach this in programs too. But this is from the horse cautioning the human to not get all carried away looking for results, but just to stay involved in the process.
Yeah, that's where, that deep, deep trust.
Yes, yes. She says, it is not yours to measure or explain. If you are using this horse in your hopes or determination to achieve this process in healing and spirituality, then you will have few results. This is a tool to help you understand your positioning on this path. Here again, she's just cautioning you what to look for, cautioning us what to look for when we're partnering with horses. And if we're not having results, we need to consider we might be using the horse, not intentionally. I don't think many horse lovers or people who want to do this work would intentionally ever use their horse. They're just overeager and just not quite tuned into the depth of soul that they need to be, an intuition for this to happen.
Yeah, because even I'm just saying, each person that might be coming for the healing work is different, and
Yes,
not every horse is the best, you know, partner for that particular moment, or it can vary per
right.
session.
Maybe
And I
not,
think that there's so many deeper variables that the horses are so tuned into that, just depending on, I mean, that's just to me where you need to be in deep conversation with your healing herd, or a
yes.
horse that you have, to be ensure that it would be just like a colleague. you know how do we approach that, and that they really do have that voice at the table, because they just know things that we might not pick up because we've got this other agenda running. We're running, if you're running the business, or you do have things, agendas running, and the horses don't have those particular agendas. They have that
Well,
pure.
unless they're like Lilia, when she had a very clear agenda talking to you about it. But
Yeah, well,
when they're
but
in the process, they don't, right? They're present. Yes,
well, I mean, in the designing of the
yes.
thing, and so that's where these are questions addressed. Like, if you do only have only, how is it that these particular horses are going to be involved with this client? I mean, it's just deep.
Yes, it is. She says, much of what you accomplish in partnering with a horse on this path is your own growth and understanding, which, of course, those of us
It's
who work with our horses spiritually or in therapeutic healing manners, we do understand this.
Yeah,
It's amazing. In fact, I often feel like I know less and less and less and less and less.
but I think that's the point.
She says every partnership in healing and spirituality is a journey into the depths of soul, and there is no arriving, there is only the journey, which is, of course, brilliant. And she says, okay, then she goes into the rest of the message. I'm not sure I want to go into anything more because I don't know if you have anything else to add as far as your program. Um, the notes that you've taken on these questions, let me just go over them real quick for clarity here. Or do you have the
Yeah,
4 questions right in front of you? Because I'm scrolling through your
yeah,
reading.
yeah. I do. Question:
Okay, just
why
real
do I
quick, go
want to?
over the 4 questions. Okay.
Yeah. Question number one: why do I want to do this with this horse?
Okay.
And to me, that is on a all the time basis question.
Yes. Yes.
This is not all that, like Lilia. I mean, she is a master healer, but she is not still the horse for maybe this particular thing, you know,
Right.
even though she's completely skilled, if she knows if she's not the horse for this, whatever. Um, yeah. So I guess that's it. The horse, you really got to look at that alignment underneath that one. The second one: will any horse do, or is it a specific to this horse? And that's, to me, where it can be, you engage, let the horses let you know that too. They could be a part of that answer.
Yes.
And then the third question: do I automatically use the only horse I have? And then that one gets complicated depending on the number of horses, or because we can start to feel like, well, I only got one horse, or something.
Yeah. Right.
It's and then the last one: if I accomplish this thing with this horse, who will have benefited?
Yes.
That is
I
where.
will actually put these questions in the link, and I'll put your website there also if people want to explore your work with Equine. Um, but yes, just 4 questions. If you're thinking about partnering with a horse and any kind of healing therapy or spiritual awakening with horses, ask yourself these questions, and I will put them in the link below. Just because these are things that she wants humans to know, to consider, so that what they do is a success.
Mhm.
They're not carried away with their desire or their enthusiasm or their egos or competition or whatever. They want to do this. This really gets to the root of what you want to do with your horses, why, and how you would approach this with your horses. Very important things. I just wanted to make sure that her information was shared for people in this work or people considering this type of work.
Absolutely. I'm so glad for you, Delilah, to make this available in this way. I mean, you were just in called in another member to the healing, and this is where we can support each other. This is where we can grow each other to enter in. Because I certainly have been humbled even at this point. I had a 95-year-old who was coming out, and I was kind of pretty nervous about it. I've known her for a long time, but and I was talking to Lily. I knew she was on board, but I never used halters and lead ropes out there, and so I had taken she had been grazing, and she knew it was time. She started walking in on her own, and I still put a lead rope around her, and she looked at me like, "What? Like, what are you doing? I know what we're doing." And I just said, "It's all me. It's all my fear." Like, just to be upfront about your fears, put it out there with the horse. I mean, she's
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay," you just go there, and it was all fine. But I'm just saying, there's just moments where you're going to run into your little, fearful self. That,
Yes, we're still human. Yes. And they're still horses.
and they're
You know,
still
and
horses.
there's always going to be things or issues. They're still instinctual animals. Yes.
That's right. And so there was a lot, but because the depth of how she's taught me, and then that's all she's really saying, I would believe, is to deepen our relationships with horses and each other that are walking in this path in particular, to support each other. And then, where she says, accept the answer that you get from, talk it over with people and work through that if it's something that feels challenging. But it can also be super exciting, because when a horse is on board with you and you're doing it, it's
Yes.
just beyond words. Pure
Yes.
grace and love, and there's nothing more powerful. So thank you so much for all the work that you do and bring connection between the horses and humans.
Well, I'm so grateful. I feel so fortunate that I can do this type of communication. And it is a specific type. It's pretty much all soul purpose based. I mean, I kind of wish sometimes they would talk to me about their health or whatever, and they do occasionally, but in general, there's other people that do things like that. My path is soul purpose
Mm-hmm.
work with horses and connection, and um, making sure that humans and horses understand each other. And that's just what I do. I'm so lucky. And I'll be doing these readings and I just stop and stare into space because it's so brilliant. It's like, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I know that? But I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always interesting. And there's more and more horses that are being more forceful about what they want their humans to do. They're giving them assignments. And it's because we're more and more open to receiving and acknowledging what the horses carry within them. So I just find in my readings, they're getting more and more clear about agendas with their humans.
Well, that's really cool, because it's really growing us both, everyone, into their soul purpose. So,
Right.
and of course, that's always going to be on your edge,
Yes.
or they wouldn't be telling you about it. So, but they
Right.
also wouldn't be telling you if you weren't ready to jump in on that edge.
Right. Right. Okay. Well,
All
thanks
right.
for the conversation. I'll put your contact information down below.
Okay.
I'm Lilia with True North Equestrians. If you'd like more information about my readings, that's my website, truenorthequestrians.com. I have 4 readings there. You can look into an exploratory reading, which is a pre-purchase reading, the sole purpose reading, which is the big in-depth reading with information on ways to practically apply information within the readings, and a Beyond the Veil for horses that have gone, works for dogs or whatever as well. And then a connection reading, which is more of an introductory reading. So there's many to choose from if you're just entering this path of having readings, channeled readings with your horses. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on our next episode.